today, which is Interagency Task Force Guidelines on the Delivery of Goods. At the end of this seminar, we hope to enlighten everybody in being able to find ways to make the delivery of goods more efficient. That is, being able to reduce the cost, which is reduce time and minimize unnecessary expense. The objective is to be able to achieve this together with the support of our government, which is represented by our two distinguished resource speakers, Mr. Roberto Valera, Deputy Director of LTO, Colonel Edison Nebrija, Head of the EDSA STTZ MMDA Group. With this, the first speaker will be introduced by our Vice Chairman of Trade and Commerce, Madam Mylene Ko. Ma'am Mylene. Ma'am Mylene. Hello. Hello.
We are Sir Jeff, we are starting our program na. Hindi pa tayo.
I'm sorry, but our president will be starting off this webinar by giving his welcome message. So, Mr. President, you have the floor.
Thank you, Jeff. Our distinguished resource speaker from the Land Transportation Office Deputy Director Roberto Valera and Metropolitan Manila Development Authority EDSA Traffic Czar Colonel Edison Bong Nebrija, fellow CFBCI College participants of today's webinar, friends, ladies and gentlemen, good afternoon and welcome to our webinar on Interagency Task Force Guideline on Delivery of Goods. For business with commodities, especially those considered to be essentials by the Interagency Task Force or IATF, logistics play an integral part of day-to-day operation. Delivery of goods must be delivered on time and need to be cost efficient. However, disregarding of this outcome of COVID-19 cases, the government, through IATF, issue guidelines to be followed by businessmen and on each citizen in general. But guidelines oftentimes charges may be every 2 enlightened by Deputy Director Valera and Colonel Edison Bong Nebrija on the verifying guidelines being issued and implemented for the business sector, particularly on the delivery of goods. We also hope that sentiments from the business will also be taken into consideration. We all know that no one wants to this crisis, but given the situation, we need to remain optimistic and have a mindset on cooperating rather than complaining. Our goal is to be survived and help each other. We cannot move forward doing our own thing, but instead we will heal as one. Doing the right thing. Thank you and God bless.
Thank you, President Andy. So to introduce our first resource speaker, the Vice Chairman of Trade and Commerce, Ma'am Mylene Ko. You have the floor now.
Okay.
Mamalin.
Yes, ka-unmute lang ng ating secretariat. Good afternoon, everyone. I hope you all had a good afternoon. Our speaker is the Deputy Director of the Land Transportation Office for the Law Enforcement Service and concurrently holds the position of Chief Transportation Regulation Officer of the Traffic Safety Division. He is a professor lecturer at the Far Eastern University as well. He is a fellow of Bloomberg Institute for Global Road Safety and the World Health Organization. Truly a road safety advocate. He continuously attends courses for the advancement of his field, of which the latest was at the Johns Hopkins School of Public Health in Maryland. He is a man of few words, but often seen on TV being interviewed tuwing mga news sa gabi, no? Alas 6, alas 11. A very familiar face in television. He is happily married to former Department of Health Undersecretary, Dr. Madeleine Valera. Let us welcome Mr. Bob Roberto Araneta Valera. The floor is yours. Balae. Paki-unmute si Mr. Valera.
Okay, thank you. Thank you. Medyo nahirapan ako doon kanina naka-unmute. I was given the topic. I'm going to discuss delivery of goods and, of course, road safety based on IATF guidelines. As we all know, LTO is a road safety advocate. There are new laws that have been passed by Congress that we are implementing and enforcing. So I'm going to discuss this in passing, the different laws that have passed by Congress that addresses the risk factors with regards to driving. And then after that, I'm going to discuss LTO's guidelines on the enforcement of our rules and regulations during GCQ. And then I'm going to, since we are talking about delivery of goods, I'm also going to present one memorandum circular issued by LTO with regards to the use of top boxes, because we can see that a lot of these top boxes are being used by motorcycle riders to deliver food. And then the last, we'll discuss the IATF guidelines. Just the salient points of the IATF guidelines pertaining to delivery of goods. So I start with my first presentation. Okay, so this we call this special laws being implemented by LTO. These special laws addresses the risk factors when you are driving. Like, for example, driving under the influence of alcohol, we have laws on that. The use of helmets. The reason why I'm going to present this, because I want to inform everybody that that's one way of not being apprehended by LTO. Because I saw in your agenda some tips for us, give tips on how not to be apprehended. Compliance with LTO laws, rules, and regulations, especially special laws passed by Congress, is one way of not being apprehended. Okay, so I'll start. Please, next slide, please. I'm sorry, I'm having a problem with my, Okay. Okay, that's, can you see this in your screen, RA 8750, the seatbelt law?
Yes, we can see it. We can see it.
Okay, so I'm sorry, I'm having a problem with my phone. So that's one of the first risk factors that this addresses is any, in case of untoward incidents, say for example, in a road crash incident, seat belts can help prevent serious injuries. So based on the studies conducted by the World Health Organization, if you're driving at 60 kilometers per hour, for example, if you hit a solid object, it's like falling from a 4-story building. So just imagine what will happen to you without your seatbelt. So that's why this law was passed in 1999. And for your information, this is the #1 law enforced by LTO since 2016. In 2016, we earned 80 million pesos just for the fines and penalties pertaining to this law, violation of the Seatbelt Use Act of 1919. Okay, what is the Seatbelt Use Act? It is an act requiring the mandatory compliance by motorists of private and public vehicles to use seatbelt devices. So, in other words, driver and passengers are required to use the seatbelts, even those who are sitting at the back. Okay. Next. Okay. The objective, of course, of the Seatbelt Act is to secure and safeguard the passengers and drivers of private and public motor vehicles from the ruinous and extremely injurious effects of vehicular accidents. Okay. So, in other words, this addresses the concerns of the driver and passengers with regards to the safety of those inside the motor vehicle. Okay, what are the types of seatbelt that are being used right now? We have the lap belt or 2-point belt, which is usually installed at the back of the motor vehicle, while LTO recommends the use of shoulder harness or 3-point belt.
Nawawala ang audio ah. Excuse me, nakamute po kayo, Sir Bob.
Okay,
yan,
okay
yan.
na po?
Oo, ngayon okay na.
Kasi I cannot unmute. I'm sorry.
Oo.
Nagka-problema yata on the other side.
Sa host, oo.
Oh yes, opo. Kasi na-mute ako. So I'll continue in my discussion. I'm sorry for that. Next. Okay, so the coverage of this law are the drivers and passengers. I will not discuss anymore the manufacturers, assemblers, because they are not compliant with the requirement of the law. Now, for public utility vehicles, the requirement under the law for the posting of operate signages. That applies to the for-hire vehicles. You can see that in front when you're sitting at the front of the public utility vehicles, like the jeepneys, for example. Next. So, what are those motor vehicles that are not required to have seat belts. These are folding seats which are provided at aisles, loading platform. The single seater provided at the side of the driver's seat. Seats facing sideward. You can see this when if you are going to ride a jeepney. You can see the seats facing sidewards and seats near emergency exit. So this does not apply to passengers or operator if there are physically disabling ailment or medical condition. Okay. Now, what is the prohibition under the law? Now, there is the requirement that under the law, infants or children 6 years old and below are not allowed to sit in front. Now, this prohibition has been amended by a new law, Republic Act 11-22-9, the safety of children on board motor vehicles. Will not this law, which will be implemented by LTO next year, February of 2021, will prohibit children 12 years old and below to sit in front. So hindi na sa 6 years to 12 years old and below. Unless, of course, if their height is 4'11", and so they can now they'll be allowed to use the usual seat belts. Okay. So now the violation with regards the fines covered by the Joint Administrative Order number 2014-01 is for failure to wear the prescribed seat belt. And when you allow a child 6 years old and below to sit in front, the penalty is for the first offense, 1,000 pesos. For the second offense, 2,000 pesos. And for the third offense, 5,000 plus 1 week suspension. Yes. Okay, so for the public utility vehicles, failure to post appropriate signage instructing passengers to fasten the seat belts, and failure to instruct front seat passengers to wear seat belt, the fine is 3,000 pesos for every violation. Oh, skip. We'll skip the manufacturer liability. So let's now go to another risk factor, which is Republic Act 10586, the Anti-Drunk and Drug Driving Act of 2013. Now, there are two violations. There are two laws that addresses the ADA. The other one, this one, which addresses the Anti-Drunk and Drug Driving Act of 2013, and the Anti-Distracted Driving Act, the use of cell phone. So we have two ADAs here. Now I'm going to discuss the Anti-Drunk and Drug Driving Act 2013. It penalizes persons driving under the influence of alcohol, dangerous drugs, and similar substances for other purposes. Okay. Now, however, the law does not allow us, LTO or LEOs or other deputized enforcers of LTO, to just flag down a motor vehicle on mere suspicion that he is under the influence. There should first be a violation. We call this probable cause. This violation is it's not criminal in nature, the probable cause. It's a traffic violation. Not moving though. Okay, I'm sorry.
The slides are not moving. Sayang, no?
I'm sorry.
Mabagal.
Okay. Can you see it now?
Yes. Probable cause.
Oh,
yes.
I'm sorry, probable cause. Okay. I'm sorry. I'm having a problem with my connectivity here. So anyway, before we can subject the driver to the sobriety test, we have 3 sobriety tests. The horizontal eye nystagmus, we have the walk and turn, and then the one-leg stand. We cannot subject the driver to these 3 tests if he did not commit any traffic violation. We call that probable cause. So these are the following violations enumerated below are the probable causes: lane straddling, making sudden stop, overspeeding, swerving, and weaving. Okay, so if that occurs, the LEO or any enforcer deputized by LTO to enforce this law can now subject the driver to the sobriety test. Okay. Now, however, there are also other means of detecting whether the driver is under the influence. So it could be smell of alcohol in the driver's breath, generally slurred speech in response to questioning, bloodshot or reddish eyes. Can you see the next slide? Can you see the next slide? No, I'm sorry. Okay. Okay, so there you are. Bloodshot or reddish eyes, flushed face, poor condition, difficulty in understanding and responding intelligently to questions. Now, these are also considered as probable cause. So, however, since this violation is a criminal offense, although not covered with the revised penal code, this is a special law. The burden of proof to establish the existence of that probable cause is upon the enforcer or the LEO or LTO. Now, these are the field sobriety tests. I just go fast on this because I have a lot to discuss with you. The eye test or the horizontal gaze nystagmus. So this is a lateral jerking of the driver's eyes. So while we are moving, the pen or the pen light horizontally, we instruct the driver to follow the movement through the eyes. Okay. The other one is, of course, the other one is the walk and turn. So it requires the driver to walk heel to toe along a straight line for 9 steps and then go back and follow the same count or the same number, 9 steps next. And then the one leg stand. This third sobriety test requires the driver to raise his foot, either right or left leg, with both arms on the side. The driver is instructed to raise the foot 6 inches above the ground and to count 30 seconds. Okay, so these are the 3 sobriety tests that we use. These are standard sobriety tests used by other countries. Now, if the driver fails in one of these tests, then we already can conduct what we call the alcohol breath analyzer test, because we're going to measure the blood alcohol concentration. Now, however, if the driver tested negative to all the 3 sobriety tests, then you will just be issued a citation ticket for the violation. That is, for example, lane straddling, reckless driving, or obstruction, and then you will be allowed to go. Now, the requirement of the law is that if you are a holder of a non-professional driver's license and you're driving a motor vehicle 4,500 kilograms or below, then if you have a blood alcohol concentration of 0.05 or higher, then you are already subject. You will be inquested already. You will be subject to inquest. In other words, you will be apprehended. And if you are a holder of a professional driver's license, there is the law does not allow you to take any alcohol at all. So this should be 0% of blood alcohol concentration for drivers of trucks, buses, motorcycles, and public utility vehicles. Now, if the driver refuses to undergo the mandatory testing, then he will be, LTO will initiate revocation proceeding of his driver's license, and of course, he will be issued a show cause order. And of course, we can also file a case against a driver for refusing to obey a lawful order of an apprehending officer. Okay, so there you are. If the driver fails the alcohol breath analyzer, he will be read his Miranda rights. He'll be brought to the nearest police station. He will be inquested. Of course, case will be filed against him. So the fines. These fines and penalties will be imposed by the court. LTO will not collect these fines. Okay? For if the violation of Section 5 did not result in physical injuries or homicide, the penalty is 3 months imprisonment and a fine from 20,000 to 80,000. If there is physical injuries, then the fine will be 100,000 to 200,000. If there is homicide, aside from his liability under the revised penal code for homicide through reckless imprudence, you will be liable for the fine of 300,000 to 500,000. Okay. Now, For the non-professional driver's license holder, first conviction will result into the suspension of his driver's license for 12 months. Second conviction will result in the perpetual revocation. In other words, forever na po, hindi na siya pwede makamaneho. Now, for those who are holding professional driver's license, first conviction, perpetual revocation. Habang buhay na po siya, hindi maka-drive. Okay, so let's go now to the next, the Philippine Trainer Act. This is also one of, this is actually the lead agency here is the DENR, but LTO is the enforcement arm of the DENR. Okay, so the policy of the state here is to protect and advance the right of people to a balanced and healthful ecology in accordance with the rhythm and harmony of nature. In other words, clean air. So, under the law, the legal basis for the authority is that the DOTR now shall implement the emission standard set for motor vehicles. The DENR is the lead agency, as I have said. So, LTO, of course, DOTR through LTO can deputize enforcers to enforce this law. We call this the anti-smoke belching units. Okay, so we have the power to inspect motor vehicles, the flag down ng motor vehicles. We call that yung project ng DOTR before 2 years ago, yung tanggal bulok, tanggal usok. So we flag down as a motor vehicle. These are visual, no? Visual, we can see the smoke emission. We can flag down the motor vehicle and then issue a subpoena for the driver to appear to LTO within 24 hours for inspection. We have also, PETCs also are allowed to inspect these motor vehicles. Okay? So here, the role of LTO with regards to the registration of motor vehicles, that new vehicle, the certificate of conformity for all vehicles, certificate of compliance. If you notice, if you buy a brand new motor vehicle, it will not be inspected for 2 years. We conduct roadside inspection of motor vehicles. Okay? We call this visual. So in other words, I have mentioned this earlier. We conduct what we call tanggal bulok, tanggal usok. These are roadside inspection of motor vehicles. The penalties for the first offense, 2,000 pesos. For the second offense, 4,000 pesos. For the third offense, 1 year suspension of motor vehicle and a fine of 6,000 pesos. Now, this law, the RA 8794, the motor vehicle user charge, we call this the MVUC law. This pertains to overloading. Okay, so we collect this charge. We charge this motor vehicle, the motor vehicle owners, 2 ways. One is when he registers the motor vehicle, he or she registers the motor vehicle, we collect this in MVUC, the motor vehicle user charge. And if we apprehended a truck, cargo truck, which is overloaded, we also impose fines and penalties on that. Now, the fine for overloading depends upon how heavy is the cargo. In other words, the heavier the cargo, the higher is the fine. Now, the formula for the computation of the fine for overloading was provided for us by the DPWH. In other words, we have a formula. Our Traffic Adjudication Service uses the formula to compute the fine. Now here, under the law, the penalty for overloading, owner of a truck or trailer which is loaded in excess of the maximum allowable gross vehicle weight to pay a penalty in the amount equivalent to 25% of the MVUC. Okay? Now, that no vehicle shall be permitted to proceed on the roadway if either a dual wheel axle load exceeds 13,500 kilograms. Okay? So there's a computation on that. Okay. The next law that I'm going to discuss is the Anti-Distracted Driving Act. Now, we see this usually, this concerns the use of cell phones while driving. Okay. Now, what is anti-distracted law? We also call this violation ADA. No? What is this law? Prohibits motorists to use any communication device while the vehicle is in motion or temporarily stopped at a red light or intersection. Now, the coverage of the law are the following: public utility vehicles and private vehicles and diplomat vehicles. What are the prohibited activities here? You know, why are we particularly interested in this? We consider this also as a risk factor because in the United States, they made studies on this that violations pertaining to distracted driving almost resulted in the same violation as in driving under the influence of alcohol. It results in road crash incidents. So what are prohibited under the law? Composing, sending, or reading text messages, making or receiving calls, watching movies, TV shows, or videos, surfing the internet, reading ebooks, and playing games via mobile apps. So those are the prohibited activities. Now, if you look at the screen, you will see the guidelines of LTO with regards to how to properly place a cell phone or a dash cam. For the cell phone, they may be placed or mounted below at the same level on top of the dashboard. On top of the dashboard, I'm sorry, as long as the highest point of the device is not higher than 4 inches. Okay, so dashboard 4 inches. And for the dash cam, it must be placed behind the rear view mirror. Now you can use your phone if you are using the speaker phones or earpieces. However, there are exceptions to this. If there's an emergency, then you can use your cell phone to call, to report a crime, accidents or calamity, bound threat, infrastructure failure, and so on and so forth. And for mobile phones, gadgets, they may not be used to text, call, or browse or block driver's line of sight. Okay, so those are the allowed usage of the gadgets. Okay, so these are the penalties. For the first offense, 5,000 pesos. The second offense is 10,000 pesos. The third offense is 15,000 and 3 months license suspension. For the fourth offense, 20,000 and revocation of license for succeeding offenses. I just would like to inform you that LTO has 2 modes of revocation. We have revocation with a period. It may be 2 years, 5 years. You can reapply afterwards. If the revocation is perpetual, then there is no more chance for you to apply. That is, you cannot have a driver's license anymore forever. Okay. Now we have also another new law. Actually, it's 2016 law. It's the Road Speed Limiter Act of 2016. Okay. Now there is a requirement of the law to place a speed limiter on, let's say, buses or trucks. If during inspection, we cannot find any speed limiter, then we will be constrained to register your motor vehicle. In other words, no speed limiter, no registration. Okay, and also LTFRB is on board on this because LTFRB will not give a franchise without the standard speed limiter. So here, LTO and LTFRB shall supervise and inspect the setting of speed limiter corresponding to the maximum allowed route. Okay, so the fine, the driver who operates a motor vehicle or the owner of operator who allows such driver to operate without the speed limiter required shall suffer a fine of 50,000 pesos. It shall also be imposed upon the driver, owner, or operator who operates or allows a person to operate a motor vehicle with a non-functioning or tampered speed limiter. Okay, so in addition to the fines, for the first offense, there's a 1 month suspension of franchise, and for the driver's license, 3 months suspension. For the second offense, suspension of the driver's license for a period of 3 months, or franchise of motor vehicles of the suspended period of 6 months. For the subsequent offense, revocation of the driver's license or the franchise of motor vehicle shall be suspended for a period of 1 year. Okay. Now, if there is tampering with regards to this speed limiter, then there is a criminal penalty for this. imprisonment of the less than 6 months, I'm sorry, but not more than 3 years, and a fine of 30,000 pesos. Okay, now another law that's been passed is the law that pertains to the use of motorcycle helmet. This is the Republic Act 10054 of the Motorcycle Helmet Act of 2019. Okay, what Section 3 of the law requires the mandatory use of motorcycle helmets. So all riders, including back riders, shall be required to use the standard helmet. If we standard motorcycle helmets pertains to those helmets approved by the DTI Bureau of Product Standards. In other words, the helmet should have 2 stickers on it. The ICC sticker, if it is imported, if the helmet is imported, or the Philippine Standard mark, PS mark. Now, without those stickers, the driver will be apprehended for driving with a with a helmet that is not approved or approved by the Bureau of Product Standard. In other words, does not conform with the standards prescribed by the law. So here are the different types of helmets. The full face, next. The open face, okay, next. And the third is the half head. Now, under the new guidelines issued by the Philippine National Police with regards to in relation to driving the motorcycle, the use of helmet, because of the COVID-19 cases, they do not allow riders to use the half head or the law requires the use of the full face. No, we do not allow already the use of half head, but a full face helmet, because that will cover more or less your face. Tricycle drivers are not required to use helmets. Okay, so that's the requirement, the PS mark or the import commodity clearance if imported. Those are the samples of the ICC mark and the PS mark. Okay, next. The next, the penalties. For the first offense, with regards to violation of the non-use of the standard motorcycle helmet, 1,500. Second offense, 3,000. Third offense, 5,000. And fourth offense, succeeding offenses, 10,000. This type of fines increases while you keep on violating the law. We call this graduated scale of fines and penalties. Kasi habang inuulit-ulit mo yung violation, tumataas yung fines. The next is Safety of Children on Board Motorcycles Act 2015. Republic Act 10666. What is prohibited? It is unlawful for any person to drive a two-wheeled motorcycle limit of more than 60 kilometers per hour is imposed. However, there is an exception to that. They will be allowed if the child can reach the foot peg. The foot of the child can reach the foot peg of the motorcycle. And if he can reach, he or she can have a 360-degree hold on the stomach or the body of the rider. The other one is the third one is the use of the standard helmet for children. What are the roads covered by the law? Well, the national highways are covered, provincial roads, and municipal and barangay streets. The penalties for the first offense is 3,000 pesos. The second offense is 5,000 pesos. And the third offense, 10,000 pesos plus 1 month suspension of driver's license. Succeeding offense, automatic revocation of driver's license. So we have only 4 strike policy. Okay, so that ends my first presentation. I'm going to discuss now the LTO guidelines on GCQ with regards to the enforcement of our traffic rule, of our laws, rules, and regulations. This is Memorandum Circular 2020-2015, 2185. Guidelines in the enforcement. So the general provision, objectives, of course, to provide rules for the enforcement of guidelines for the operation of transportation as set forth by the DOTR. And we impose penalties for violations thereof. Next. We implement, by the way, we implement this during GCQ or the new normal. Okay, next. Okay, so public utility vehicles. Now, we're going to discuss this because your drivers, your drivers, or those who are working for you, will be taking public utility vehicles. So I find this relevant to the topic that we're going to discuss with regards to the road safety. Now, for public utility vehicles, the following sanitary measures shall be strictly complied in all modes of transportation. The public utility vehicles. Number 3, when automatic fare collection system is available, PUVs are required to use. Actually, there are already motor vehicles that uses the BIP card. So that's the automatic collection system. But kung wala, then payment fares shall be collected at the front seat before allowing the passenger to board the PUV. Now, number 5, UB Express shall follow the point-to-point operation. Fares shall only be collected at their designated terminals. All public utility buses shall be equipped with thermal scanners and checking body temperatures of all commuters. Those with temperature of 38 degrees centigrade or higher will not be allowed to board the public utility vehicle. Number 7, vehicles shall be disinfected every end of their trip with all surfaces. The seats, like for example, seats, armrests, handles, wiped down with disinfecting agent. Number 8, high-touch surfaces of the vehicles, such as but not limited to seats, armrests, handles, shall be disinfected at least once every 3 hours. The vehicles is in continuous operation. And number 9, operators, drivers should provide foot disinfectants for passengers prior to boarding. Number 10, driver compartments of UB Express and PUJs shall be sealed off from the passenger area using non-permeable transparent material. Number 11, in compliance with the 1 meter physical distancing imposed by the Department of Health, public PUG operators may install impermeable plastics or materials between rows of seats that are less than 1 meter apart if they wish to accommodate the 50% load. Kasi 1 meter po yun, so they can do that if they want to accommodate the 50% load. Number 12, all safety officers must regularly examine the drivers and conductors' fitness to work by checking their temperatures among those measures that are being implemented. Should a driver or conductor show symptoms of COVID-19, he or she is prohibited to report to work or must be endorsed to the nearest medical facility by the PUB operator. 14, all PUBs are encouraged to post informations and posters reminding commuters of good sanitation practices as shared by DOH or the World Health Organization. These are examples. Bawal po yung walang social distancing, and of course, the other side refers to those allowed by LTO to operate. Dapat meron silang permeable plastics. Okay, next. Okay, now, for terminals, all PUB terminals shall observe appropriate sanitary measures during the period, especially in frequently touched surfaces. So we follow almost the same protocol, yung disinfecting the surfaces, use of alcohol and washing facilities, 1 meter distancing, use of face mask and face shield. But of course, for those who registers a body temperature of 38 degrees centigrade or higher shall not be allowed entry to the terminals. Bicycles, I don't know if we need to discuss this because it's not under LTO's jurisdiction. Okay, so here are the physical distancing facilities and transport facilities. For public utility buses, 50% of the vehicle's capacity. So passengers seated, one seat apart, no standing passengers. For PUJs, 50% of the vehicle's capacity. Passengers seated, one seat apart, no standing passengers. Only one passenger on the driver's side, row. For UB Express, maximum of 2 passengers per row. Only 1 passenger allowed on the driver's row. For taxis and TNVS, maximum of 2 passengers per row. Only 1 passenger allowed on the driver's row. For shuttle service, 50% of the vehicle's capacity, excluding the driver and conductor, and only 1 passenger allowed on the driver's row, if no conductor. For tricycles, only 1 passenger on the sidecar. No passengers shall be seated right beside or behind the driver. So these are our GCQ physical distancing of public transport vehicles. The colored green markings are those allowed passengers. The yellow one is for the driver, and the broken lines are the non-permeable transparent barriers. So we have those for public utility buses, yung 2x3, no? 2 passengers on the right and 3 passengers on the left. You also have for public utility buses for 2 passengers on the left, 2 passengers on the right. Pero those are under normal condition. Ngayon, isa na lang ang pinapaupo natin. Those, if you see the green markings there. For shuttle services, take note also of the green markings. For UB Express, the taxis, and the public utility jeepneys. Okay, so there you are. For public utility bus, 2x3 bus rows, take note of the green markings. For public utility jeepneys or for shuttle service, also please take note also of the green markings. That's where they're allowed, the passengers are allowed to sit. For jeepneys also, that's where they're allowed to sit. Okay, for taxi and TNVS, only 3 passengers, not including the driver. So 4 passengers all in all. For tricycle, only 1 passenger. Okay, so there you are. For private and government vehicles, motor vehicle, 50% also vehicles capacity. Tricycle, 1 passenger in the sidecar, and the same requirement for motorcycle, the driver. Now we now allow back riders. Okay, but there are now new requirements issued by the IATF with regards to compliance by both the driver of the motorcycle and the back rider. Next. Okay. Okay. So these are the fines and penalties for non-compliance. For the GCQ po ito, these are the administrative sanctions. For non-compliance with the sanitary measures, the driver will be charged for reckless driving. Why? Because he endangers the life of his passenger by not wearing the required sanitary, like the measures, no? Like, for example, the face mask. Now we require also the use of the face shield. Now, there's also a violation of breach of franchise conditions if that the driver is a driver of a public utility vehicle. Now, the penalty is for reckless driving is 2,000. Second offense is 3,000. Fourth offense is 10,000. Now, there's also a suspension for that violation. Now, for breach of franchise condition, that's 1,000 for the driver, and now for the operator, first offense 5,000, second offense 10,000, and third offense 15,000. Now, for those violations with regards to physical distancing measures, overloading, we charge the driver for overloading. That's 1,000 pesos. Now, for drivers that classified as a poor or authorized person outside residence, he will be charged for driving without a valid driver's license, even if he has a driver's license, because he is not authorized to drive. For that, particular period, so you'll be charged for driving without a valid license for 3,000 pesos. For lack of special permit to operate with PUVs, that will be a colorum violation. So for bus, the penalty is 1 million pesos. For trucks, 200,000. For jeepneys, 50,000. For vans, 200,000. For sedan, 120,000. And motorcycles, 6,000. For other violation, we charge them for that appropriate provision, 1,000 pesos. Okay, what are our procedure for apprehension and adjudication? For apprehensions, in relation to this MC or memorandum circular, the procedure we follow is stated in the LTO Citizen Charter. We follow that. And should there be any GCQ violations committed, law enforcement officers must indicate the same as comments in the temporary operator's permit. So, for example, non-wearing of face mask, then you will be charged for reckless driving, but it should be qualified. It should be indicated in the remarks portion of the TOP of the temporary operator's permit. Okay, na? The next presentation I will discuss our rules and regulations in regards to that, to the compliance with the use of top boxes by delivery motorcycle riders. Okay, so these are guidelines on inspection and apprehension relative to motorcycle top boxes and saddlebags. Now, a top box is a storage compartment fitted behind the seat of the motorcycle or scooter and is considered a motorcycle accessory. A top box that is specifically designed for motorcycles, in other words, which contains DTI approved stickers like ICC sticker or the PS mark, may not be inspected anymore by LTO. But it must be securely attached to the motorcycle, and it has a maximum capacity of 2 full-face helmets. Now, for custom-made top boxes, these are top boxes used by fast food delivery boxes to deliver food. So it must conform to the following and the subject to inspection and registration because they are not standard top boxes. Letter A, it must be securely attached to the motorcycle. B, the dimension must be 2 by 2 by 2. In other words, 2 feet in length, 2 feet by width, and 2 feet in height. And it must not impede or obstruct the view of the rider of the road from the side mirrors. Kasi meron kami nakikitang top boxes na hindi na makita ng rider. These are the soft shell boxes na hindi na makita yung side view mirror. Now there's already a violation for that. We apprehend that driver. Now for saddlebags are also storage compartments, but they are usually used by motorcycle riders to place other let's say materials like jackets or bags. Okay, so these are specifically designed for motorcycles and scooters and approved by the DTI, and it conforms to the following. Number 1, it must be securely attached to the motorcycle. Installation of the saddlebags must be lighter than the seat, higher, and so that's higher than the seat of the motorcycle or scooter. Okay, so what are the specifications? And this need to be registered. It must be securely attached to the motorcycle. Installation of saddlebags must be higher than the seat of the motorcycle scooter. This cannot exceed 40 inches from the sides. In other words, from one side, 14 inches, the other side, maximum 14 inches. Length must not exceed the tail of the motorcycle or scooter. There you are. It's only, actually, ang registration fee is only 100 pesos. So when I was interviewed before, when I mentioned this, a lot of delivery motorcycles registered their top boxes with LTO. Okay, so those unregistered custom-made boxes will be penalized because they'll be subject to apprehension. They will be penalized for 5,000 pesos pursuant to the Joint Administrative Order 2014-01. That's Section 2-D. Motor vehicle operating without or with defective, improper, unauthorized accessories. We consider top boxes as accessories, devices, equipment, and parts. Okay. Now, let's go now to the IATF Resolution number 38, series of 2020. Section 2 on guidelines for areas placed under enhanced community quarantine shall be amended. So these are the following, no? Section 2 to the 4 on activities person establishment are allowed to work or operate during ECQ shall be read as follows: with a full operational capacity. Delivery and courier services, whether in-house or outsourced, transporting food, medicine, or other essential goods, delivery of clothing, accessories, hardware, housewares, school and office supplies, as well as pet food and other veterinary products shall likewise be allowed. Section 3 on guidelines for areas placed under the modified enhanced community quarantine shall be amended accordingly. So Section 3(4)(e), other postal and courier services, as well as delivery of services for articles or products not mentioned under Section 2 of this omnibus guidelines shall be allowed to operate in full operational capacity. And now for the general community quarantine, these are the amendments. Section 4(6) shall now be read as follows: all permitted establishments and activities under Section 2(4) shall be allowed to operate or be undertaken at full operational capacity. In addition, the following sectors or industries shall be allowed to operate at an operational capacity provided herein. So there's a list of these sectors. No, it's too long for me. Anyway, I have downloaded the whole resolution. I'm just going to touch on the highlighted part so that you will see. I'm sorry. Okay, I'm just trying to open. Okay, so this is the guidelines, no, under the IATF guidelines. So here we have for the enhanced community quarantine. I have already mentioned that in my PowerPoint presentation. So with full operational capacity, public, private, hospital. Sorry, we're not. I'm going to skip that because that does not pertain to delivery. Here under 5 or V, delivery and courier services, whether in-house or outsourced, transporting food, medicine, or other essential goods, delivery of clothing, accessories, hardwares, housewares, school and office supplies, as well as pet food and other veterinary products shall likewise be allowed. Okay. Now, B, a maximum of 50% for operational capacity. We have here also for private establishments under employees involved in the provision of essential goods and services and activities in the value chain related to food, medicine, and vitamins, production, medical supplies, devices, and equipment, and other essential products. The full operational capacity. Okay, so 9, manufacturing companies, okay, and suppliers of equipment or products necessary to perform construction works such as cement and steel, full operational capacity. Okay, so for the requirement with regards to the ID, these are the requirements for the accreditation of IATF accreditation of IDs. Law enforcement agencies shall recognize any of the following IDs: IATF IDs issued by the regulatory agencies with jurisdiction over permitted establishment or persons, bona fide IDs issued by the establishments exempted by the strict home quarantine requirement, or rapid pass IDs. No other IDs or passes specifically exempting persons from community quarantine shall be required of workers or permitted establishments or offices without prejudice to requiring the presentation of other documents establishing the nature of the work. Now, we have also here, with regards to rapid pass IDs, the movement of cargo vehicles shall be unhampered. Cargo vehicles, as well as vehicles used by public utility companies, BPOs and export-oriented establishments shall not be subject to the ID system. Okay. Now, Section 3 of the guidelines of the ADS placed under modified ECQ, minimum public health standards shall be complied with at all times for the duration of the MECQ. And Section 3.4 shall now be read as follows. All the following shall be allowed to operate at full operational capacity. All establishments or activities permitted to operate or be undertaken under Section 2.4 of these guidelines, other postal and courier services as well as delivery services for articles or products not mentioned under Section 2 of the Omnibus Guidelines, full operational capacity. Okay. Now, for the guidelines under the general community quarantine, Section 4.6 shall now be read as follows. All permitted establishments and activities under Section 2.4 shall be allowed to operate or be undertaken at full operational capacity. In addition, the following sectors or industries shall be allowed to operate at an operational capacity provided herein. So those are the pertinent guidelines covered by the IATF guidelines. So that ends my presentation. I'll be happy to answer questions. I'm sorry, I cannot hear. I have already concluded my presentation, and I'll be happy to answer questions if you have any questions.
Thank you very much, Deputy Director Valera. It's really a very informative presentation that you did. Thank you for that. Now,
Yes, sir, Jeff. Thank you for inviting me.
Yeah, I hope you'll be available in our future follow-up seminar on this matter.
No problem, sir. Especially if this pertains to road safety advocacy of LTO. Thank you very much.
Thank you, thank you. Now, let's go to the second speaker, Mr. Second speaker.
Yes, sir. Good afternoon. I'm Bong Nabia from MMDA. I'm the head of traffic. I'm the traffic chief of EDSA Special Traffic and Transport Zone. Good afternoon to everyone.
Okay. Hello.
Hello. Do I proceed?
Thank you, Moderator Jeff Cheng. Our next resource speaker is a former naval aviator of the Armed Forces of the Philippines, graduated from the Philippine Military Academy and a member of a PMA Sambisig class of 1991. Prior to being an EDSA traffic czar, he is the commander of the MMDA Task Force Special Operation, which starts its operation by 6 a.m. with the briefing of his team, then goes out towing illegal parked car and clearing of sidewalk of vendors, and among other tasks. He is known to be the man which leads by example and a man of discipline. Our resource speaker making a name for himself as a tough and no-nonsense MMDA executive that deals with the clearing road of illegal parked vehicle, etc., as mentioned a while ago. The task at hand of our resource speaker is not easy one. A tough job and as for a tough guy. Traffic man, he is also stays along the EDSA around at 20.4 kilometers. Kung hanapin mo siya. Anyway, the EDSA is a critical to Metro Manila transport, are radial and circumferential road spanning from 6 cities: Caloocan, Quezon City, San Juan, Mandaluyong, Makati, and Pasay. It also serves as a link between the North Luzon Expressway via Balintawak and the South Luzon Expressway via Magallanes Interchange. And according to our resource speaker, he has been granted full authority and deal with the engineering issues of this 23.8 kilometers long road. As he doesn't even know that he himself is not on the long list to be on that position. As a saying goes that our Rotary, the position seeks the man and not the man seeking the position. A famous line of one of the rider who said that the EDSA highway as a parking lot, and he is one responsible of the cars in the parking lot and make it move. And I always remember also in the social media that he also mentioned about apprehension with re-education. The discipline instilled in him over 20 years in military comes into play in his current role as Metro Manila Development Authority, EDSA Special Traffic and Transport Zone Head. Without any further ado, it's my honor to present you our next resource speaker, Colonel Edison Bong Nepriha.
Sir Jimmy, thank you very much for that gracious introduction. I haven't heard that before. It's so unique, and I'm just amazed. I didn't know that you were introducing me after all. I'm greatly humbled by your introduction, sir. Actually, I asked Gerald to just play a video, a standard video that I do of introducing me, because really I do not want people to be bored by my background, my education, what I did. But nonetheless, I'll try to show you a video, which is a standard introduction that I do every time I make a presentation. And then again, Sir Jimmy Ang, thank you very much for that kind introduction.
My pleasure.
No more window hours in Metro Manila's major roads. The MMDA is also set to impose a speed limit on EDSA.
Idineklara ng MMDA bilang traffic discipline zone ang kahabaan ng EDSA. At naroon po ngayon nagmamando ng traffic ang bagong EDSA Traffic Manager, Colonel Bong Nepriha.
Again, good morning. Narito pa rin tayo sa EDSA Cubao pero sa southbound lane naman. At ngayong umaga, makakasama natin ang Traffic EDSA Chief na MMDA, si Sir Bong Nepriha.
Whatever this problem tells us now is that we have so much volume on EDSA.
Mga bus operators, sasabihan din nila yung mga pasahero nila na hindi na sila magbababa anywhere on EDSA. Sa terminal na lang po bababa ang ating mga pasahero.
No, sabihin niyo sa akin, ano yung...
Miss, pasensya na po. Nagpapatupad kasi kami ng ating...
Oo nga, hindi sir, could you inform me?
Marami na tayong pagbabanta na tinatanggap dito tuwing nag-ooperate tayo dito sa Manila. Naninigurado lang.
Kaninang umaga raw ang pinakahuling bantang natanggap ni Nebriha.
Okay, great. Let's move on to the road clearing because that's a big news item for motorists. How's that going?
Well, the pronouncement of the President in the SONA directing MMDA, the LGUs, and even the DILG has helped us a lot. I mean, now you can see what we've been doing before is now it's like on steroids that we have the
you're backed up now.
Yes, by the local government units, and now they're doing this on their own.
But this is for their own safety. I mean, you're taking risks if you're not staying there. That's what we mean.
That is not yet my presentation. That is just the introduction. Anyway, let me go to my presentation, and this will be sweet and short. Can everyone see my presentation now? Hold on, I'm having problems with pardon me, I'll just fix my presentation for now. All right. Hello? Hello, can anyone hear me? 1, 2, 3, 4. Can you hear me? Okay, good. So let me start with my presentation. So again, good afternoon, friends. And I'm here to, present a short briefing on what MMDA is doing in the midst of the pandemic. Again, I'm Bong Lebriha, ang may-ari ng EDSA. The scope of my presentation will cover the following. I will give a brief background on our fight against COVID-19. I'll be discussing, though this is not my field, I will touch on this, the DTI 20-06 series of 2020, which also leads me to the next topic, which is the issuance of the Rapid Pass. I'll be discussing, I think many of you will be, most of you or your business are affected by this, the track ban and track lanes. I'll be also discussing briefly about our towing operations, our apprehensions this pandemic, and other government efforts to help businesses. Background: we remember that the outbreak of COVID-19 started in Wuhan, China, sometime in December 2019. However, sometime in 2014, this is after the outbreak of SARS, where we were hit in sometime also last quarter of 2013. But it did not become a pandemic then, but we were affected by this. I think we had 10 infections and 1 death during the SARS of 2013. That this outbreak led to the passing of Executive Order number 168 by President Benigno Aquino III, creating the Interagency Task Force on emerging infectious diseases. So the IATF is not new. This has been there since 2014. However, with the onset of the COVID-19, it was convened by President Rodrigo Roa Duterte in January of this year. Our first case in Philippines was recorded on January 30, 2020 from a visiting Chinese national who spent her vacation in Central Visayas. Then our first local transmission was recorded on March 7, 2020 from a Muslim praying center in San Juan, which the victim also went to Green Hills Shopping Center. And March 7 is a week before we declared our first community quarantine. So here's shown is the timeline of our community quarantine. March 15, we declared just a community quarantine. This is a Sunday, if I remember it right. And March 16 was a Monday. And just to let you know, it was chaotic on the road at that time because the only guidelines that we had was to implement physical distancing in public utility buses or public utility vehicles. That did not happen. And we were overwhelmed by the number of commuters on that day. And eventually that afternoon, our community quarantine was upgraded to enhanced community quarantine. And the next day, March 17, there was no more public transportation. And it was more chaotic in a sense that many still of our kababayans went to work and they were stranded on the different roads of Metro Manila. After almost 2 months of enhanced community quarantine, we downgraded to modified enhanced community quarantine on May 15, 2020. Then eventually downgraded further to general community quarantine on June 1, 2020. This is the time that we phase in our public transportation. So we had the different routes being phased in for the bus rationalization routes that was created by LTFRB. So we have 30 routes and one EDSA carousel. So 31 routes in all that were phased in. Wala pa rin po yung mga public utility jeepneys and other modes of transportation. So that in itself was also chaotic in a sense that many people walked their way from their home to the main thoroughfares just to get public utility buses. And after another 2 months and a half, we reverted back to modified enhanced community quarantine, tracing the spike or the increase of COVID cases again to the public transportation, because really, as we also see it, there were so much non-compliances being done by the operators, by the drivers and the conductors, and even the commuters. No? They were not observing physical distancing. And I've shown this in some of my videos where they are literally just simulating the taking of thermal scanners. And yes, last week, 2 weeks ago, then we reverted back again to general community quarantine. So this is not my expertise, but since it was one of the topics that were listed down in the invitation that was given me, I decided to research on this and just basically touch on what I know about this Department of Trade and Industries Circular 20-06. Well, basically, it identifies the enterprises and establishments and their personnel who may operate during the quarantine period. So basically po, nilalatag lang to kung ano po yung pwede mag-operate, and provided provisions for the unhampered movement of all types of cargoes within, to, and from the entire Luzon. So again, this has been basically our Bible at the checkpoints na create ng PNP HPG at the borders of Metro Manila, and likewise along EDSA. So next, this is the circular itself. So as you could see, paragraph 1, it covers the enterprise that could operate within the quarantine period, and paragraph 2 well, basically the movement of all cargoes in the entire Luzon area. And paragraph 3, the movement of personnel. And paragraph 4, the export and BPO companies. So as you could see, this is the advisory that was sent out by DTI, and this has been basically our base. This has been basically the basis of adjusting our screening at checkpoints, so that the frontliners and the delivery of essential goods will be unhampered. Because when we started with the checkpoints during the start of the ECQ, what we saw is that even the frontliners and the delivery of the essential goods were also hampered by the long queues on these checkpoints. So that's why we adjusted our screening at these checkpoints, even on EDSA, when this advisory came out. So as you can see, this is basically the guidelines to smooth implementation for the manufacturing of food and essential products, medicine and medical supplies, retail establishments, export and business processing, outsourcing of BPO companies, movement of all cargoes in the entire Luzon area, and movement of personnel needed to operate the covered enterprises. So basically, that is what DTI 20-06 series of 2020 is all about. So the next topic I'll be discussing is one of the things that the government adopted to make the movement more efficient and fast. So this is the institutionalization of the Rapid Pass. So what is a Rapid Pass? Rapid Pass is a checkpoint solution that provides quick passage for frontliners and other authorized persons outside of residences, o yung tinatawag nating APOR, during the implementation of the community quarantine against COVID-19 threat. However, hindi lang po ito yung mga frontliners natin, but also for the delivery of goods. So ito po mga authorized pass na to, inilalagay po sa mga sasakyan na magdi-deliver so that it would be more, it could be, that the cargoes could be transported more efficiently and faster. So ito po yung pag-apply. Well, basically, it just tells you that the APORs together with their business entity will just apply with the rapid pass form and attestation forms submitted to the agency concerned. So I think most of your business are under the Department of Trade and Industries, and I will be showing this later. So if you are just an APOR not affiliated with any government, private, or business entities, you could also apply individually. So here are the business, well, the enterprises covered under Department of Trade and Industries. So basically, all of these businesses should apply to the Department of Trade and Industries for the Rapid Pass. So we have the BPOs and export-oriented businesses. Sorry about that. Then we have the manufacturing, food, essential and hygiene products, medicines and vitamins, and medical products. We also have the food chain, funeral service, groceries and convenience stores, pharmacies and drug stores, freight forwarders or logistics, tracking services, warehouse logistics, water refilling stations, services to buildings. Ito po yung mga contractors, workers, service providers to buildings, and repairs and installation of machinery equipment, and e-commerce companies. So basically, if you want to apply for a Rapid Pass, you need to complete an individual form and the attestation forms and submit it to DTI if you fall under any of these business entities. I think this will concern many of you about the truck ban. So what is the definition of a cargo truck? No, well, basically anything from 4,500 and up or 4,501 kilograms and up are considered cargo trucks. So cargo trucks are motor vehicles principally intended for carrying cargoes and having license plates of the following classifications: ST, TC, TH, TRLB, HHB, and TRJ. To include other vehicles such as lorries, vans, tankers or other delivery vehicles, whether loaded or empty, having a gross weight of more than 4,500 kilos. I will be discussing this further at the end of my presentation. So when is the truck ban implemented? Ito po yung time na hindi kayo pwedeng lumabas from 6 a.m. to 10 a.m. and from 5 p.m. to 10 p.m. every day except Sundays and holidays. No cargo truck shall be allowed to travel or pass along designated roads in Metro Manila. There are 13 roads that you cannot pass. Ito po yan. Espanya Street through Quezon Avenue from Echagi Street to the intersection of West and South Avenue. Claro M. Recto Avenue from Ligarda to Delpan Street. President Quirino Avenue from South Superhighway to Ross Boulevard. P. Borgo Street through Ayala Boulevard, Ligarda Street, Magsaysay Boulevard, and Aurora Boulevard from Ross Boulevard to Boston Street. Medyo ano po ito, no? I hope you are imagining this. E. Rodriguez Avenue through Bonifacio Avenue from Welcome Rotonda to Shu Avenue. South Superhighway through Nagtahan Bridge and Alfonso Mendoza Street from EDSA to Dimasalang Street. And Tafa Avenue through Quirino Avenue, from Redemptor Street to Plaza Loton to include MacArthur, Quezon, and George Bridge. So many of you will be traversing these routes. Bonifacio Drive through Ross Boulevard and Villa Road to Aduana Street to the Ninoy Aquino International Airport. Rizal Avenue to Rizal Avenue Extension from Torreado Street to Bonifacio Monument. Reyna Rente, I think many of you will also be traversing this route through Abad Santos Street from the Reyna Rente Bridge to Rizal Avenue Extension, and the 3 business districts in Makati, Ortigas, and VGC. So those are the routes that you cannot pass through during the truck ban period. So ito po yung map niyan. Ito po yung map niyan.
Binabalik mo siya. Binabalik mo yung mute.
Okay. So basically, these are the routes that covers the truck ban.
You have to unmute. Siyempre, unmute mo si Jeff. Unmute mo ko. Mamaya, paano ko siya mag-back upin?
Okay. So these are the authorized truck routes. Ano? So basically, we have 3. We have the southern route. We have the southern truck route. Then we have the northern truck route also, and we have the eastern truck route. So the southern truck route will be from the port area to South Superhighway and vice versa. And the northern truck route will be from the port area to the North Diversion Road and vice versa. And the eastern truck route will be from the port area to Marcos Highway and vice versa. All right, let me continue. So truck ban. There's a total truck ban on EDSA. So that is between EDSA Magallanes to North Avenue in Quezon City every day except Sundays and holidays. I will be discussing this further in the government efforts that what we're doing to help businesses later on, because this is also part of the measures that were lifted to give way for the delivery of goods. So just to mention, the penalties for truck ban is 2,000, and for 3 times offender, there will be a suspension for 1 year of the license. So there are 3 truck lanes in Metro Manila that is along Mindanao Avenue, Ross Boulevard, and C5. So may confusion pong lumabas na sa news lately na pati po yung truck lanes were lifted. No, we cannot lift the truck lanes. The cargo trucks need to follow the truck lanes on the routes that I mentioned. So let me go to the clearing operations. Then later on, I will be discussing about the towing operations. In 2017, during the State of the Nation address of President Rodrigo Roa Duterte, he directed the MMDA to clear all roads of unnecessary obstructions, that to include illegal parking and illegal vendors. And this was even reiterated again in his 2019 SONA where he already included the LGUs and the DILG to help us out. So nagkaroon po tayo ng clearing ops 1.0, may clearing ops 2.0 na naganap. No, and the barangay captains and the LGUs are subjected to, well, sort of filing of cases in the ombudsman for neglect of duty for clearing their areas. So towing operations, I think most of you are also concerned here. Tow trucks, there are only 3 instances where tow trucks can tow your car. 1, if you are stalled on the road. 3, you're illegally parked. 2, illegally parked, and your vehicle is involved in accidents. So tatlong instances: stalled, illegally parked, and vehicles involved in accidents. Other than that, hindi po dapat kayo ito. So a stalled vehicle is a vehicle which for any cause, engine trouble, empty fuel tank, flat tire, among others, is unable to proceed under its own automotive power on a public road, street, or thoroughfare in Metro Manila. So ibig sabihin po, tumirik kayo, no? Either walang gas or nawala kayo ng baterya or for whatever reason. Not in any instance that you are allowed to change tire, a flat tire on national roads. Kailangan po talaga kayong itow dyan, alisin kayo, or daling kayo sa pinakamalapit na gasoline station. Ang sabi po ni Chairman Lim, when he assumed, sabi niya, tulong muna bago hatak. So those are the guidelines that he set for us. Yun po yung direction niya, na bago natin ito o bago natin i-impound yan, kung matutulungan natin, tulungan muna natin. So an illegally parked vehicle refers to one which is parked in areas prohibited by existing law or ordinance for parking purposes, or those designated by MMDA or the local government units as no parking areas or zones. So there are 2 types of legally parked vehicles, which is attended, nandiyan po yung driver, and unattended, wala po yung driver. So makikita nyo po during our operations before, binibigyan po namin ng 5 minutes. That's why in the video introduction that I showed you a while ago with the lady prosecutor arguing with me, where is my 5 minutes? So hindi naman po namin siya itotow, titikitan lang namin siya, and she's asking for her 5 minutes. So within that 5 minutes, hindi po kayo lumabas, your vehicle is unattended. So subject for towing na po kayo after that. Penalties. Tumaas na po ito. Dati, nung ako po nasa task force, 150 lang, 200 and 200. Now, attended illegally parked vehicles is 1,000 pesos. Unattended illegally parked vehicle is 2,000 pesos. You can also be cited for obstruction, which is 1,000, and a disregarding traffic sign for 150. So, kung attended vehicle ka, babayaran mo is 1,000, tapos may obstruction ka, 1,000, plus DTS 150 to 2,150 po ang babayaran nyo. Mas mabigat pag unattended, wala po kayo. Plus the towing cost. Ito po yung towing cost. Sa light vehicles, ito po yung mga weighing less than 4,500 kilograms or up to 4,500 kilograms. Ang first 4 kilometers po niyan is 1,500 and 200 per succeeding kilometer from the point of towing operation up to the impounding area. So it's being computed by our personnel in the impounding area on how much distance you travel from the point of towing up to the impounding area. So from the medium vehicles, this is from 4,501 kilogram to 7,500 kilograms. That's 2,500 for the first 4 kilometers, and again 200 per succeeding kilometers. For heavy vehicles weighing 7,501 kilograms and above, you will be charged 4,500 for the first 4 kilometers and 200 per succeeding kilometer thereof. Apprehensions. So since the onset of the lockdown of MMDA, during the onset of the lockdown, the MMDA has aligned its apprehensions based on the guidelines of the IATF and the DOTR. So this basically includes the unauthorized persons outside of the residences. Ito po yung tinitikitan namin. Ito na po yung Also, who violates the physical distancing on motorcycle back ride, health protocols for public transportation, minimum helmet requirements, bike lane and busway violations. So meron na po tayong bike lane sa EDSA. We have laid out the bike lane, but however, we haven't procured yet the steel fences or the bollards that will be used to protect our bikers. But for now, it is there. Many of our kababayans are now using it to go to work or to bike to work. So also shown in the slides are the helmets that are required by the IATF in lieu of the infamous motorcycle barrier. So what are the government efforts to help the businesses during this pandemic? So since the onset of the enhanced community quarantine in Metro Manila, MMDA has already lifted until today both the track ban and number coding for the National Capital Region. However, other local government units in Metro Manila opted to implement the track ban in their locality, except for the track routes. So the LGUs that still implements the track ban includes San Juan, Las Piñas, Parañaque, Muntinlupa, Pasig, Makati, Taguig, Marikina, Caloocan, Navotas, and Manila. So until now po, wala pa rin po tayong number coding and together with the track ban. And again, yung sinasabi ko kanina, total track ban po sa EDSA, but with the lifting of the track ban, trucks can also pass through EDSA now. So I have clarified this to our General Manager, Jojo Garcia, this morning, and also to our Metro base. So it's cleared, trucks can pass through EDSA now. Another government effort to speed up the movement of goods and frontliners is the institutionalization of the Rapid Pass. The benefits of this are the following: removing vehicle congestion and letting through the delivery of essential goods more efficient and faster, speeding up of much needed deliveries, and contact-free verification of frontliners. So mas madali na po. Ilagay nyo na lang po yung QR code sa windshield nyo. It could be scanned already. So you don't even need to open your windows anymore. Another one is shuttle buses for your companies, especially for the big industries, especially those hiring public utility buses as shuttle buses. So the government also made the processing faster by canceling the special permits for such services. So we see many public utility buses, particularly provincial buses, being used as shuttle buses by big companies like banks and BPOs. Another government effort is that since March 14, 2020, the DILG has released this memo declaring the lockdown in the country. The secretary, upon declaration of the lockdown in the country, the Secretary of the Department of Interior and Local Governments has suspended the conduct of all clearing operations, that to include anti-illegal parking operations. So, naintindihan po namin yung iba talaga walang mapaglagay ng sakyan. And at the same time, those who are delivering their goods, especially that there are no truck bans anymore, will do this in times na dati natutow sila. So ngayon, nilip po muna yung towing operations. And also, one of the government efforts, particularly sa MMDA, we are continuously dialoguing with business groups to know their concerns during the time of pandemic and how the government could intervene to address such concerns. The photo shown was during the Zoom meeting with the Federation of Filipino-Chinese Chamber of Commerce and Industries Incorporated, sometime, I think, May or June 26, I think. And one of the concerns that was raised was Rapid Pass, because there was a delay with so many entities applying at Department of Trade and Industries. The chairman of MMDA, General Danilo Lim, offered the services of MMDA, since we are also part of the agencies who could approve or process the rapid pass. And we have given this privilege to the members of the federation to, well, make their application for a rapid pass more faster, a little bit faster. And here it is, we heal as one. And let me show you this video. Well, in behalf of our chairman, Chairman Danilo Lim, and the rest of my team at EDSA Special Traffic and Transport Zone, I would like to thank you, friends, for supporting us during this pandemic. And maraming salamat po sa inyo. Thank you and good day.
Thank you, Colonel, for this very wonderful presentation. I'm sure it enlightened a lot of us regarding the effort being exerted by MMDA to help alleviate the hardship that we are encountering. It's nice to know that you are leaving no stone unturned in trying to make things a lot easier for all of us. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Well, that's what the least that we could do during this pandemic is to help everyone out. Particularly, I think the most affected sector in this during this time are the business sector, and the government has been trying its best to balance health and economy. And I know you well all know that it's hard. It was hard for the government to do that, especially during the spike of the COVID cases recently when we declared general community quarantine.
Okay, the question and answers will follow after a short photo op. So I would enjoin all participants to turn on your video so that we can have a quick photo op before we proceed to the question and answer segment. Are we on? Ma'am Judith? Okay, so let's proceed to our question and answer portion. I think this question is applicable to the colonel from NMDA,
Yes, sir.
how many helper can be accommodated in a four-wheel truck?
Four-wheel truck. Sir, for example, let's say an elf, right? There should only be two in front. And there should be one.
So one helper and one
Yes.
driver, is that it?
Yes.
Or two
Yes.
helpers?
Unless you have a crew cab which is two-layered, uh, there's also a back seat. Then you could have three, right? You could have three. One in the middle at the back, then two in front.
I see. Okay. Now I think the second question is.
Ako, I have.
Can we, go on. Mylene, you want to ask something?
Sige, go ahead. Sorry. Go ahead muna. Go ahead.
Sige. Can we have a unified policy on penalties and truck ban time within the whole Metro Manila area so that it won't be confusing?
Sir, actually, those the policies of the Metro Manila Council right now are being unified. Aside from the truck ban is unified basically. There are just LGUs who tries to implement their own time and their own days, just like with number coding. But sir, there was a meeting with the Metro Manila Council, and it is one of the thrusts of this administration of Chairman Danny Lim to unify all these ordinances and MMC resolutions, because it's really confusing. I understand. Even in number coding, for example, for MMDA, it's from 7 to 8. In Makati, they're implementing it from 7 to 7. No? So there are a lot of areas that conflicts with the local government. But however, sir, we're the mayors and the chairman are trying their best to come up with one resolution to unify all this. But for us, sir, basically trucks are in the main thoroughfares naman. So basically, you abide by the guidelines that we have, the time, the 6 to 10 and the 5 to 10. But right now, sir, there are no truck bans. Just to make it clear, there are no truck bans. Even the total truck ban on EDSA is already lifted.
Thank you. Also, there's this issue about having to acquire a permit from some municipalities. Different municipalities are required.
I'm sorry, Sir Jeff. I think that's also one of the problems right now, because really local governments are covered by their own local government code, and they really could do this, and that's why even us are being affected by this, because and even the businesses, for example, here in Quezon City, when they opened up the salons already, some parts of in Quezon City, they limited the services of these businesses based on a local ordinance. So even though that the DTI has already released a memorandum circular that they could already open up the business and the services that they provide, the local government can also issue an ordinance limiting the services of a particular business during this pandemic. So, sir, our hands are tied regarding this, because the local government units have some sort of an autonomy on this.
Thank you. Ma'am Mylene, you want to ask something?
Can you hear me? Medyo nawawala yung aming signal, no? Anyway, there's a question here about, are you still issuing rapid pass applications? Any one of you, Sir Bob or Sir Bong, can answer this question? Are you still issuing rapid pass? Alam ko, hanggang dun lang nga issue, no? And extension na lang.
Actually, ma'am, there are rapid passes whose validity will be until December of this year. And we are actually, ma'am, processing for non-government organizations involved in relief operations during this time of pandemic. However, just like what I said a while ago, with the dialogue that we had with the Federation of Filipino Chinese Chamber of Commerce, the Chairman Danny Lim already offered the officers and men of the Federation to apply at MMDA, and we process their application for rapid process instead of going to DTI, which is actually overwhelmed right now with applications of
Wow.
rapid pass.
Wow, ang sarap naman ng federation, ha? Because this question came from ano lang, not from federation na member. Isang business entity lang na nagtatanong, they applied ready for, hindi pa sila nabibigyan. But as I understand, you are not issuing, no?
They applied sa DTI po, ma'am. Did they apply sa DTI?
Malamang. Oo,
yes,
malamang siguro.
Actually, most members, officers of the Federation have also applied there at DTI. But then again, just like what I said, with the number of business entities that I enumerated a while ago, I think they're also overwhelmed with the so many applications. So we just gave the sort of a courtesy to the Federation for helping us out and supporting us during this time of pandemic. That courtesy to process their rapid pass applications.
Oo, nasa ano natin nasa needs natin si Nelson Guevara also listening. And Sir Nelson Guevara. May isa pang next question for my balae, Sir Bob. May nag-a-ask if you can total liquor ban na lang daw para walang accident daw, walang mabawasan ang car accident. Pwede ba yung total liquor ban na while driving? Hindi pwede yung nakainom ng konti, ang total as in wala. Naka-mute po kayo, naka-mute po kayo, Sir Bob.
Okay, thank you. Kasi I cannot unmute myself, parang sa kabila ang control. Ang kasi actually, there is no prohibition with drinking. Ang sa amin lang, the law prohibits drink driving. So you can drink as much liquor as your body can take as long as you don't drive a motor vehicle.
Sir Agatio, I hope you heard the answer of our speaker.
Yeah, there's another question here regarding smoke belching, yung mga apprehension, tsaka yung pag-emission testing, in this lockdown pandemic situation, it takes a lot of effort to have the vehicle being tested, You have to go there early in the morning and then spend almost the whole day queuing. Now, can we sort of implement a parang ano bang tawag nito? Yung bang pre-qualifying mo na parang yung ginagawa ng mga ibang agency wherein you get your slot so that when you go there at your designated time para mabawasan yung waste of time?
Yes po, actually we allow appointments po. Lalo na po pag marami ang nagpapa-register or kumuha ng license, we ask those applicants to call LTO and set an appointment para hindi na sila pipila.
Saan particular na tawagan?
Sa opisina po namin, kaya lang po kung PATC kasi those are private emission testing centers, we are not in control of their operation. For registration purposes, kung kompleto na ng documents, kagaya ng mga emission testing certificates, di pwede na namin i-register. Yung may problem pa kasi yan, sir. Actually, what happened before, maraming emission PETCs na nasara kasi they were found by our inspectors to have violated rules and regulations with regards to inspection. So ngayon, nagkakaproblema kasi ang yung mga nasara hindi na binigyan ng authority to operate. So what the DOTR is doing right now is we have DOTR approved operations of motor vehicle inspection centers. These are private motor vehicle inspection centers which also inspects motor vehicles with regards to emission compliance.
Thank you. No, as a follow-up, can we suggest that an app be set up that you can just get a schedule through the internet so that you can be assigned a time slot?
Yes, actually, there's already a protocol with regards to appointments. You call the certain district office, and then you set an appointment. It's decentralized. Depende po kung saan kayong district office magpa-register o magkuha ng license. Just get the numbers and they will accommodate you. They will set a time or a schedule for which you can go to that particular district office for, let's say, registration or securing of license.
I mean, we have to go to the emission center to get tested,
Sa emission center po, opo. Kasi wala po kaming control there, just operation po nila. They are independent, they are private emission testing centers. Ang amin lang control dyan is that dapat hindi sila gumawa ng kalukuhan. Kasi pag mayroon sila non-appearance, that's when we discipline them, penalize them for non-renewal of their operation permit to operate.
Okay, that's nice to know. Regarding the is it possible to do away with yung mga testing sa mga smoke belching since naman if you do not pass the initial test, you won't be issued a license. Registration to your vehicle. Di ba ho? Yeah. Now, if there's some hocus-pocus going on there, isn't it that yung mananagot, yung nag-pass ng emission na mo?
Yes, kasi po, yung validity kasi ng yung result ng PETC, for example, nakapasa ka sa PETC, applies only to registration. Kasi afterwards, kasi every year ang renewal, yung mga regular renewal, hindi natin alam kasi po, baka after 6 months, may problema na yung kanyang emission, ang kanyang ang umuusok na yung sasakyan. So that's why we have what we call roadside inspection also. We carry with us opacimeters to measure the emission standards of, let's say, a diesel engine vehicle and a gas analyzer for gas engines.
Kaya nga ho, no, dahil if every 6 months is required so that yung abala sa sa biyahe can be avoided, maybe make that a kung possible lang ho, no, na have your vehicle emission tested, hindi yung yearly during registration lang, kung hindi every 6 months, so that the validity will hold and less inconveniences
along the road, no? Along the road. Yes.
Oo, kasi yan ang
para hindi arbitrary.
Ng mga delivery vehicle. Now, just as a suggestion.
Yes, sir. Actually, let me expound on that. I agree, sir. That's why si Asset, ayaw niya yung convenience rider, mga passengers, So, ang ginawa namin, we do not inspect anymore at all, no? Sa roadside. We do not conduct roadside inspection using gas analyzers and opacimeters. Ang ginagawa namin, pag umuusok, we just issue a subpoena and then we give the driver operator 24 hours to go to our MBIC for inspection. Kung pumasa naman, we will not issue a TOP or a citation. In other words, we're giving the operator a chance to fix the problem within 24 hours. So, to avoid traffic congestion, lalo na po sa mga areas na malilit lang yung roads. So, wala na kami. Actually, we avoid that. What we do is just issue sa PUINA pag nakita namin umuusok, and then we just require the operator or the driver to bring the vehicle to LTO inspection center for inspection within 24 hours. Tama po yun. We do not want to inconvenience also the passengers and the drivers.
Thank you.
Maybe we can address 2 more questions if there are. Sir Gerald, do you have any question? If you have, maybe we can close the program.
I think there's a suggestion here regarding yung driving ability. It's suggested that make the validity for the student driver license longer, and with a marking in the vehicle that they're driving, so that if they are not following the traffic rule, they can be reported to a certain entity. If that happens, then they will not be able to progress into a non-pro or a professional license. So, umpisa pa lang, they are made to follow the rules already. And that way, maybe mas effective yun kaysa sa going to lecture lang and then a very short time lang, 6 months lang ang trial period. Will that help, sir?
Yeah, thank you for that suggestion. Actually, Republic Act 10930 increases the validity of the driver's license to 10 years kung wala po kayong violation. But we are already implementing the demerit point system. In other words, every time you violate the law, bumababa po yung validity ng driver's license, even leading towards revocation. So that's why what we're doing, we're also upgrading our requirements po sa issuance of the student permit. Wala na ngayong automatic student permit po. If you're applying for a student permit, you have to undergo 15 hours of seminars po before you can apply for a student permit. And for renewals, most of the renewals will be requiring also license holders to undergo seminars and exams. In other words, hindi na automatic po, especially po if you are a violator of traffic rules and regulations. So we have actually done that. We are upgrading our requirements of driver's licensing. Specifically po, we have a reward and penalty provision. The reward is, if you have no violation, you have 10 years validity whenever you renew your driver's license. But if you have violated traffic rules and regulations, then that during renewal, that will be evaluated against you. And in fact, if you have committed a number of, let's say, demerit point system, you will be required to undergo seminar and exams.
Yeah, because seminars are designed to inform and let the driver or the applicant knows what are the requirements. The important thing there is whether they will, it will sink in and then for them to abide. So maybe starting with the student applicants will be effective, Yun lang ang suggestion.
Yes, actually, the law 10930 also penalizes yung mga student drivers. And not only that, pati yung kasama niyang driver, a licensed driver also be penalized.
Oh.
Okay.
Sir, I have a question, no? For the deputy director, how many centers do we have? Parang ang question would be, for all of the vehicles to do our emission test, the number per day for each emission test. So normally,
Sir, excuse me, could you repeat po? Kasi medyo choppy.
Oo, choppy ah, choppy.
Hello?
Yes.
Yeah. So yung question ko is in relation to the number of emission test center. Kasi pag konti ho yung emission test center, then we have a lot of mga trucks that have to be registering emission test. Yung waiting time would be too long. So how many emission test centers do we have so far?
I'm sorry, I don't have the statistics, pero ang alam ko nabawasan talaga, sir, kasi because of the
violations.
Yung non-appearance talaga, that will be a ground for non-renewal. So just for this year, ang dami na pong hindi na-renew na mga, lalo na po sa Mindanao, no? Illegal, in fact, wala nang operating doon, emission center. So they have to go to Cagayan de Oro to have their motor vehicle inspected.
Wow.
Sir, is it possible ba that rather than making it independent, government, meaning emission tests will be done by LTO, the government itself. So it will be more uniform, fees, tapos yung policy din in relation to appointments. Kasi yung parang sinasabi ko ni Sir Jeff would be yung having an appointment rather falling in the morning. Example, as early as 5 a.m., we have to fall in line. After mo na makaka-testing, no? So the whole our walang pumila, no?
I'm sorry, medyo magsabi ulit. Pakiulit na lang po.
Medyo naintindihan ko yung question ni Sir Gerald. Sir Gerald, the answer, no, kasi each emission center, different policies, kaya hindi natin marirequire yet. Pero maybe the guidelines can come from LTO, Sir Bob, na you guide the emission centers na mag-encourage ng appointment na lang, appointment system. Like my experience last September 1, my appointment with DFA, sobrang gandang experience. As in 5 minutes lang, tapos na application ko for renewal of passport. 5 minutes. Kaya I appreciate this appointment system. Maybe, Sir Bob, you can suggest to the emission center, you can do some protocols about it para sa mga emission centers na encouraging appointment.
Yes, salamat po for that suggestion. Although this the authorization is already under DOTR, wala na po sa LTO. But we will talk to our counterparts. Opo, sa DOTR na po yan.
DOTR pala, Sir Gerald.
Kasi mas maganda sana if the testing centers will be going back to goes back to the LTO rather than the companies na hindi naman sila properly pero hindi naman sila properly or wala proper facility.
Ito na lang. Kasi, Sir Gerald, your signal is very weak. So, hindi namin ma-understand the whole question. I think, si Sir Bong, very supportive sa atin. Si Sir Bob, very supportive sa atin. We can pass on our questions and sasagutin na lang nila yung iba nating questions.
Yes, thank you.
Thank you din. Thank you.
I think si Sir Jeff has a lot of prepared questions pa. Maybe Sir Jeff could continue.
I think I've asked most of the questions already, and some of these are already answered. Like, are the LGU entitled to just charge any fines for social distancing violation, etc.? Is there a limit there, or they can charge any amount they feel applicable sa kanila?
Well, sir, yung sa sa local ordinances, they really impose it's a resolution that they come out with based on the council that they have. So sa city council po yan, they talk among themselves and they come up. Alam ko, sir, may limit na hindi lalagpas dapat ng 3,000 for any violation. But that is for traffic violation po yan, Since na most of the health protocols are not considered traffic violations, I remember during the onset of the ECQ, yung violation po ng social distancing, yung RA 11332, para 5,000 po ang initial violation yan . So napakalaki po, no? Napakabigat talaga sa mga unang nakikita namin ng ganyan. Then it was later downgraded to 1,000. So again sir, yung sa mga local ordinances, actually kami po wala po kaming legal ground to apprehend for health protocols. Kaya po kung kailangan namin mag-apprehend, we need to be deputized by the local government unit to help them out. So as of now, there are 5 LGUs who deputize our enforcers to use our own ticket in implementing the health protocol ordinances in that locality.
I think we just have one more question here. Is it possible to change your plate number because some of your vehicles or delivery vehicles have the same ending?
Sorry po, permanency of plates po. Hindi po yan pwedeng.
Permanency.
Once issued, that will be your permanent plate number.
Yan nga, pag minalas ka, tapos pare-pareho yung ending mo. So, on that day, walang makakalabas. So,
sell your car, buy a new one.
No, please, no. Don't do that.
Sell muna. Before buying again.
We have so many cars on the roads already. So, I think that's not a great idea.
One question. Sir Jeff, di ba we were discussing about asking yung South Luzon Expressway, like when the truck goes out, there is inspection.
Yeah, I'll take over, Gerard. Yung sa S-Lexo, when you enter at any point, they conduct per vehicle inspection. So that causes a lot of inconveniences. Unlike sa NLEX, LTO is conducting it on a random basis. Kaya maraming oras na nauubos sa kakapila and waiting for inspection. Is there anything that can be done to expedite yung nila ron? Yung pagbiyahe ron?
Yes po, I understand DOTR will be coming up with a circular on the compulsory use of RFID para hindi na po magbabayad sa mga toll gates. And also, for your information, LTO is now talking with the INLEX. We will be implementing the no contact apprehension. So in other words, wala nang hassle masyado. Kasi the violator will just be issued a show cause order by LTO. So mabawasan natin yung traffic sa yung mga apprehensions sa traffic.
Thank you. Thank you for the clarification. So with that, I think we can now move on to our next segment. Thank you, Colonel and Deputy Director.
Thank you for inviting us.
Okay, now it's time for our EVP, Ixia, to give the closing remark. Steve?
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. On behalf of the Chinese-Filipino Business Club Incorporated, to our of land transportation office and long Negriha, head of MDA EDSA Special Traffic Transport, also to all the participants of CDM representatives and part regular hoping we are being enlightened, educated in terms of how we must be on the road and what important our respect to our traffic laws. Again, friends, Rest assured, the Chinese Filipino Business Club will continue to do both of us. Make part of community information, educating our fellow men through this criminal meeting. Lastly, maraming salamat sa inyong lahat and have a blessed weekends to all of us. Thank you.
Thank you, EVP. Now, with that, I think we are now bringing our program to a close. I would like to thank everybody in behalf of CFBC for participating, and we would like to also invite all of you to join our webinar series for this September, which is on the 12th and the 19th. Please check out the website for details. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you for attending. God bless.